Craig, it was another fantastic regular season for the Winnipeg Jets last year. 110 points under Rick Bowness, but they did not have the success in the playoffs like they wanted to. So the one big question for the Jets is, how can they translate their regular season success to the playoffs?
2 words: be bold. When you consider the Winnipeg Jets ownership to Kevin Cheveldayoff to the coaching, this has been a team that's been very good. They draft well, they develop well, they get players under really good contracts, they make good trades when their backs up or against the wall, but all it's been able to do is keep them in a place where they are very competitive during the regular season, and there's a lot of hope. But I think for the Winnipeg Jets now, it's about making some bold moves, some really bold moves. I don't think there's any better example than what Bill Zito did in Florida. Jonathan Huberdeau being traded, he gets Matthew Tkachuk, and it changed the whole tenor of their team and obviously gave them a chance to compete for the Stanley Cup and ultimately win that. I think that's what they have to do, Mike, to be able to translate everything they've done well, but have not had the success in the playoffs to turn that around.
I mean, I think the first guy you got to look to is their best player, Connor Hellebuyck, undoubtedly one of the best goaltenders in the world, and for some strange reason just hasn't been able to carry over his great form into the playoffs. So whether it's rest, whether it's work, whether it's coaching, whether it's mental work, whatever it might be, the first key to unlocking future playoff success has got to be Connor Hellebuyck getting his best game into the playoffs. So we'll start there. The next part is who they are. I think last year against Colorado, they started running around as though they're going to run and gun with the Avalanche. That's not going to work. They got successful in the regular season by being defensively responsible, by being diligent, by being physical, and they got away from that. So not only being bold, but also remembering who you are and why you're successful and trusting that that will be the case in the playoffs, if it will be, Craig. But that's where I think the bigger question maybe lies. Is this roster even good enough? Do you like the forward composition to take it deep into the playoffs?
Yeah, and I think right there, I mean, obviously Connor Hellebuyck, the Vezina Trophy winner, you know, he has to find a form come playoff time, and I believe he can do that. But you talk about the forward group, Mike, and I think that that's an area where they really have to look at. They've been able to get good players into their lineup, but when you think about the playoffs, you think about the grind of the playoffs, you think about the physical elements of the playoffs. There's less space, there's less time. You got to be able to not only withstand the pressures from your opponent, you got to be able to push them back. And I think that there's too much lightness in their forward group. Kyle Connor's a terrific player. Nikolai Ehlers is a terrific player. Cole Perfetti looks like he can be a really good player. But too many of the same types of players don't give you a chance to have the success come playoff time. Yes, the Colorado Avalanche force you into a game, and I think that that fits the skill elements of the players I just mentioned. But is it ultimately going to be able to be who you are and what you want to be? I think that that's where you have to examine. It's not that those players aren't good. It's what can you do to change the complexion and the construction of your forward group to give you a better chance come playoff time.
And these are the really hard questions Kevin Cheveldayoff has to ask himself, because he has a really good team. One of the best teams in the regular season last year in the entire NHL. But are they good enough? Just flat out. Because sometimes you can have all the answers you want, but maybe your team's just not quite as good as the teams you're going up against. And I think, unfortunately, as they are currently constructed, as good as they are, Winnipeg is not quite as good or good enough to beat the teams they're going to face in the playoffs year after year and get deeper in the playoffs. Even if Hellebuyck plays better, even if they are able to make some changes, they're not quite as deep on defense, and they don't have a superstar up front. They have a lot of good players, undoubtedly excellent players, but they don't have a superstar up front. And trying to finesse that mix is you're taking a team that's already good, but also maybe changing them significantly, which is, we can talk about Bill Zito in Florida, but that is a rare occurrence that someone's able to pull it off as well as they did.
Domino's That's Hockey is brought to you by Domino's Pizza. From pizza and lava cakes to pasta and stuffed cheesy bread, Domino's has you covered. Domino's, Canada's favorite pizza.